Meet Sheldon Adelson, the husband of Miriam. As Trump ran to be president in 2016, Trump's super PAC, Future 45, was running low on funds. According to their Federal Election Commission filing, Future 45 had just over $200,000 in its coffers to continue running against Hillary Clinton. Of course, by then, the Supreme Court had already passed Citizens United, allowing for corporations to be able to donate as much money as they wanted to any politician or political cause. This positioned Sheldon to be able to request some ask of Trump. And it is documented that Sheldon asked for two things. One, that Trump advocate for him with the Prime Minister of Japan to be able to get his casino businesses into the country, and that Trump move the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. When Trump was elected, Trump immediately got to work. It is well documented that he did, in fact, advocate for Sheldon to the Prime Minister of Japan, and he also began immediately working on moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. For that type of access and control, to be able to change U.S. policy, to acknowledge Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and move the embassy there, cost Sheldon Adelson $25 million. But Sheldon Adelson was not acting alone. In the space with him was David Friedman, who was Trump's former bankruptcy attorney. And he named David Friedman the U.S. ambassador to Israel. In that role, David Friedman got immediately to work. The first thing that he did was reduce U.S. aid to Gaza and the West Bank by $200 million. Also, what took place is that Palestinian officials working inside of Washington, D.C. were immediately removed. And what David also was careful to do was to end all U.S. aid to the UN, who was helping Palestinian refugees in Israel. By the beginning of 2018, Trump was making amazing progress on keeping his promise to Sheldon Adelson. However, to make sure that that promise was going to come through, Sheldon Adelson volunteered to pay whatever it would have cost the United States government to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. However, that funding was not needed. In May of 2018, on the 14th, Ivanka Trump traveled to Israel to dedicate the new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, as well as to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel on behalf of the United States on the same day that Israel was established as a nation state in 1948. As this took place, many Palestinians were unalived and arrested for protesting. Now, this also meant that the embassy that was located in Tel Aviv was of no use to the United States anymore. However, Sheldon Adelson, as well as David Friedman, wanted to make sure that the next president, Joe Biden, would not even think about reversing course. So they made sure that the government sold that embassy. And Sheldon Adelson purchased the embassy for $67 million. Now, this concerned Congress immediately, because where was David Friedman going to stay as this transition took place? And the government did not want to pay rent to a private owner, Sheldon Adelson, as the embassy moved over to Jerusalem officially. Taken together, what does all of this mean, and how does this figure into Trump's remarks about those who served in medals being a dog whistle for his foreign policy in Israel, and what he's willing to use the power and authority of the presidency to do? Preserve America, a super PAC established to get Trump over the finish line and into the White House, as well as provide him with more than enough funding to run against Kamala Harris, has just over $4.8 million in its coffers, according to its most recent FEC filing. That pales in comparison to the multi-millions of dollars that Kamala Harris has been able to fundraise. Enter Miriam Adelson. Because of Citizens United, again, corporations are allowed to donate as much as they want, and Trump is aware of this. And according to reports, Miriam Adelson has a $100 million plan to get Trump across that finish line. Could his praising of her at this event be an effort to make concrete that $100 million commitment? But why would Miriam Adelson float $100 million out there as an idea, as a gift to get him into the White House? Is there unfinished business from his first term? Unfinished business like Israel's Minister of Information and Transportation wanting to build an artificial island off the coast of Gaza, an artificial island that would have seaports, airports, and hotels. The same line of business that Miriam Adelson is involved in the same geographic area that Jared Kushner said this about.
Are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. And Gaza's waterfront property. It could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
Should Trump win this election, then business interests could masquerade as U.S. foreign policy interests in the area, thereby potentially placing those who serve in harm's way. This also has extreme implications in the lives of Palestinians and others who reside in the area. Those who earn the Congressional Medal of Honor make possible even the idea of a Medal of Freedom. But for Trump, it's not about who has which medal. It is about securing his funding. And seemingly the old adage remains true. She who pays the piper always calls the tune. I'll check you later.